All India Radio, Bangalore, Mysore and Bhadravati. Cartoonist World. Today we bring an interview with the famous cartoonist Mario Miranda. The interviewer is SHAILAJA Gangoolly, a freelance journalist.
Mario, I can't resist beginning at the beginning. When did you actually decide that tunes were your territory? How did it all begin?
Well, to be quite frank, it was not my decision. It started by my sketching away as a kid when I was very small. I still have these drawings.
What kind of drawings?
They were actually humorous drawings of people, mainly people, people in my house, my grandfather, grandmother,
Right.
the dogs in particular,
Hmm.
and the priests in my village, which I used to find very humorous. And I used to keep a diary and sketch regularly every day. My mother used to encourage me by giving me blank sketchbooks to fill it up. And as I grew older, I enjoyed drawing, and when the time came for me to make a living, I was sent to Bombay to join the IAS, the sort of government service.
Right.
So I joined St. Xavier's College and did my BA. But
What
when I
were your
was
subjects, incidentally?
English literature,
Okay.
which I enjoyed very much. But and speaking of literature, it helped me a lot in my profession. Reading helped me a lot.
Right.
But when I was in college and for pocket money, I used to draw and give it to these magazines. And,
There must have been very few around at that time.
There were very few. There was the Illustrated Weekly of India, for example, which unfortunately is just closed down. There was the Current, and things like Blitz was there, Free Press, and but mainly the Times of India group, and the Current, of course. And I used to draw and give it to them, and it used to help me. And so gradually I got into this line, and I was enjoying it. And so I gave up the idea of joining the government, which I think I would have been a complete failure.
Do you feel that living in the wide open spaces of Goa and in a house with history, do you feel somewhere that contributed to your creative process, gave you time and space to dream, imagine?
Very much, because basically I'm a loner, and that enormous house and the past and the characters in the village,
Right.
and things happening in the village, and helped me a lot. But later on, when even I went to school in Bangalore, um, my classmates used to encourage me to draw sort of things for
Right.
them. Like imagine the teacher in the nude and all sorts of things, which
That
got
must
me
have been
into
more of caricaturing than cartooning,
is
seriously.
it and got me in a lot of trouble actually occasionally.
Well, Disney had his little rodent crawling over his hungry canvas to provide him inspiration and
Yes.
create international history as Mickey Mouse. Do you have any stock figures which you are particularly fond of?
Maybe because I'm fond of animals, dogs in particular. There's always a dog or some kind of animal in one of my drawings.
Does he have a name?
No, the dog doesn't have a name. And then as I went along, I created some characters.
Well, I certainly remember Rajni, Nimbu,
That's
Pani,
it.
and Balraj, Balram.
I was about to mention them. And then I created the boss and Miss Fonseca.
Yes, of course.
And Godbole, the secretary, all that kind of thing. And I must say I enjoyed doing it.
Well, in your long and illustrious, or should I say illustrative career, what are the kinds of subjects you have tackled? Just a sampling, because you must have done so many.
As you see, my favorite subjects are people.
Right.
And
There are never
especially-
enough of them, I suppose.
Yes, luckily I live in Bombay, which is there's got a lot of character and tremendous variety of
Yes.
people. So it's a paradise for a cartoonist. It's a pity that cartoonists in India are so involved with politics,
Right.
and they seem to ignore the average person, and they also seem to ignore the fact that cartooning means laughing at ourselves,
Right.
including the cartoonists themselves, and not only at politicians.
Right.
So that is missing in this country at the moment. I
How
think.
would you trace your career graph in terms of your personal growth? Are there any phases that you can see where you grew out of certain subjects?
Oh yes. In the beginning, I remember I was in England, and I was influenced by an English cartoonist called Ronald Searle.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in England, I met Ronald Searle, and he looked at my work and said it was excellent, but he stopped copying me. And
Right.
so I took his advice, and I stopped copying him. But actually, most cartoonists go through this phase where you are influenced by somebody else.
Right.
I develop in my own style, and I won't say it's perfect, but I'm always learning, and I'm always trying new techniques, change things. And of late, I enjoy drawing places,
Right.
whether in India or abroad, more than just people. I love drawing ruins, for example. I just come back from Israel, and for me, Jerusalem, for example, was absolutely lovely from the point of view of drawing. And so was Rome. And I've been to Kerala, and at the moment I'm doing a book on Bombay, which I think I will enjoy, because I've never really sketched Bombay on my own.
So you feel you have moved from caricaturing and having fun at ourselves kind of themes towards more of authentic representation
That's right.
in your
Yes,
style?
yes. I enjoy that much more, much more than just plain cartooning.
Right. Does all of this come naturally and fast? Do you have to work yourself up to a mood, or can you
It all
just draw?
depends. It all depends. You get the good days when you get lots of ideas, and then you got to make the most of it. And then you get the bad days when you think your career is over. You spend sleepless nights saying that the ideas don't come.
Right.
But I think that happens to everyone.
Yes, of course.
But at times, when there are deadlines, you have to struggle and think of an idea.
Right.
And if the idea is bad, then I concentrate on the drawing, fill it up with lots
Right,
of characters
yes,
and this.
right.
And it's a bit of a bluff, but still.
Would you be able to tell us the A to Z of the creative process, right from the idea to the finished cartoon? How would it go, stage by stage?
Most important thing, I think, is reading.
So that's
And
the basis.
The basis. So the idea comes first, and then comes the drawing part of it.
In the drawing, do you go through several drafts, or does it come straight on?
No. I usually don't go to drafts. Sometimes when I want to get a particular expression in the face,
Right.
and I'm not getting it, then I will, keep on trying, and until I get the right expression, and then I'm sort of pretty happy. And
Do you doodle in spare time?
yeah, all the time. So I'm never bored. If I'm waiting for example, for a bus or a plane in particular, you're sitting there at the airport. Sometimes I waited for hours. But I'm always watching people. Maybe I'm not even doodling, but in my mind, my mind is receptive to.
This is strictly confidential, but do you caricature people who annoy you?
Not exactly. I mean, if I do it, it's not a cruel kind of a thing.
Okay.
It's,
So you don't connect cartooning with bitching.
no, not at all. Not at all.
So how would you say, what is the message of cartooning?
The cartooning mainly is there's a certain amount of distortion and bringing a bit of humor
Right.
to even situations where you feel there's no humor.
Right.
And to be able to do that, and if the people appreciate it, then I think I've achieved something.
Do you think this can be taught? Because one does see advertisements about classes where you can learn cartooning.
You can learn the drawing side of it.
Right.
But humor is something which, unless it's the ambiance, it's the crowd you move around with, which is important. For example, in London, in the pubs, I used to
Right.
meet, other cartoonists.
Right.
In New York was the same. We used to meet often
Right.
once a week in a restaurant or something.
Hmm.
And this interchange of ideas
Hmm.
and making fun of each other maybe, and that helps. Unfortunately, in India we don't have that. There are very few cartoonists in India, and yet we don't hardly meet.
How many books would you have done now in collaboration with a writer?
Well, as far as India is concerned, I've done Karnataka, I've done Goa.
Okay.
Karnataka with Dom Morais.
Mm-hmm.
I've done Goa with Manohar Malgaonkar.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say, I enjoy working with these very talented writers. We seem to get along very well. Then I did Germany on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done Paris, I've done Portugal, I've done Australia. And going to these new places, meeting people and exchanging ideas with people in the same profession, I think for me that's very important.
Sometimes, or should I say most times, your female figures do tend to be a little loud and physical. Are you willing to be labeled an MCP?
No, 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 no. I mean, it's easier to draw curves than straight lines, to be quite frank.
That's a weak defense.
I know, but somehow if it's not that I want to insult women or something, but I think maybe the readers prefer a more buxom woman than a very skinny one. I don't know. Maybe it's that.
Can you perform under stress, Mario, when you have a deadline?
Yes, I work better under stress. If there is a deadline, then I can produce something. Sometimes it's good. And if there's no deadlines, I may not do anything if I can.
Do you feel a tune must always have a message?
No, I don't think so. Sometimes critics discover some kind of message in my drawings, but I
You
don't
don't
do it.
consciously?
No, I don't do it intentionally. My thing is I enjoy doing it, and if my pleasure comes across to the reader, I mean, then I'm happy. But I'm not doing it for the intention of getting a message across at all.
Right.
I enjoy drawing. That's the main thing. Anything.
Thank you very much, Mario. I think Mario Miranda is certainly doing his bit to flush out our spleen and keep our spirits crackling. Thank you, Mario, for being with us and sharing your smiles. And good luck to you, so long as you can keep us in good humor. I'm sure all will be well with our world. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cartoonist World. That was an interview with Mario Miranda, a renowned cartoonist. Interviewer was SHAILAJA Gangooli, a freelance journalist. This program, recorded in Bombay, came to you from the Bangalore station of All India Radio.